What is going on, y'all? Gamers Goon here today with your top 10 Heisman rankings for the preseason. Obviously, these can all change. I don't think I didn't make one last year, but I don't think I would have had Cam Ward in the top 10. This year, though, we are making a top 10. We will kind of update it at certain points throughout the season. I don't think we'll do all 10. I think we'll just do like top 5. But something I wanted to do here. And first name off the board and we're gonna go in order from who I think is most likely, and then proceed to like the more outrageous like dart throws. Like if somebody with like number 10 is gonna be like, I think it's possible. It's not necessarily the most likely. Number 1 though, I think is the most likely scenario, and that is Jeremiah Smith. Jeremiah Smith, if you haven't watched the top 25 video, I was very high on him. He is coming off a freshman year with 15 touchdowns, 1,300 yards, 76 receptions. I don't know who we assume Sayan's going to be the QB here at Ohio State. You look at Will Howard was not anything special. He wasn't anything special. He was a solid quarterback, and he did that with Jeremiah Smith. I think the same thing here. It doesn't really matter who the quarterback is for Jeremiah Smith. He is somebody that is one of the most, if not the most, dominant players in college football, and he in providing without injury. I think that will remain the same this season. He is somebody that I believe will be a top 5 NFL pick, not this year, the year after. He is not going to be draft eligible after this season. Ohio State fans, you're going to get another year with him, but Jeremiah Smith, to me, is the most likely player. I do know it's not a quarterback, and I think if non-quarterback wins the Heisman, it would be Jeremiah Smith. He's that good that I have him over my top quarterback, and my top quarterback in the Heisman rankings is Garrett Nussmeier at number 2. Nussmeier, I know some people might not be as bullish on Nussmeier as I am. He is coming off of a 4,000-yard season, 29 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. He will need to limit those interceptions if he is to become the Heisman winner. They do have a little bit of a tricky schedule. They play Clemson early on, which I do think is winnable. They play Ole Miss, South Carolina, Texas A&M, and Alabama. If you can win 2, if at worst, you at least win one of those games, and you're a 3-loss team, I think it puts you in a scenario where you're similar to Cam Ward. You are in the Heisman conversations, even though you have losses. But I think really it's going to be a situation where Garrett Nussmeier might put up flashy enough numbers if he can go over 4,000, score, if he can get into like 30 to 35 TDs, and he can maybe drop those interceptions down to maybe 8, preferably below 8 interceptions. I think if anybody is to win it at the quarterback position, Nussmeier would be my odds-on favorite. Tough schedule, though. He's going to have to prove it if he does indeed win the Heisman. Next, we have Arch Manning. I kind of had to go back and forth with Garrett and Arch, I'm going to be honest. Arch Manning, obviously the quarterback at Texas. Texas, at worst, looks to be a 2-loss team, potentially against Georgia. And who else did they play? They played somebody in Ohio State, week 1. Arch Manning, week 1, you're going to be fed to the Wolves. This is his first true year at QB1. This is the first year that teams get to prepare for him specifically. It's not like, oh, it could be Quinn Ewers, or we're preparing for Quinn Ewers. We got to see a little bit of Arch. No, it's all going to be Arch. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. It's going to be Arch. So we'll see how he handles that. And I do think, for the most part, season looks fairly simple for them. They do have some tricky games, but all games you'd expect them to win. Ohio State and Georgia being the 2 toughest. Those are the 2 teams that might be able to throw a wrench into Arch Manning's season. It's going to be kind of a situation of, Arch, are you going to sink or are you going to swim? These teams know how to make adjustments. They have great coaching staffs. You're going to see stuff you haven't seen scheme-wise against Ohio State, against Georgia. How does Arch adapt to that? We will see. Number 4, we got Drew Aller. And I know a lot of people might be shocked I have Drew Aller here. Let me tell you why. Obviously, quarterback at Penn State, once again, probably a top 10 team, a team that, at worst, I mean, anything can happen. You look at Notre Dame last year losing to Northern Illinois. Nobody expected that to happen. But Drew Aller and Penn State, at worst, just on paper, has two potential losses with Ohio State and Oregon. I figure they could beat Oregon. Oregon is traveling there to Penn State to play that game. I believe it is a whiteout game. It is going to be the biggest game of Dante Moore's career at Penn State. So if Penn State can win that game, you're looking at a one-loss Penn State team. You're looking at a guy here that is coming off of a season with 3,300 yards, with 24 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. He does limit the interceptions. You'd like to maybe see some more big play potential out of him. He is losing Tyler Warren, but he does get both of his running backs back. I think they did add a receiver or two in the portal as well. He is somebody that, with the schedule, if he can get over the hump of beating at least one of the top two Big Ten teams that Penn State is going up against and go into conference championship time with only one loss, Drew Aller, believe it or not, I think he has at least a chance to be in the conversation for the Heisman. I do think he is a guy that a lot of people would probably underestimate, but he's a guy that has drawn a lot of buzz from the NFL. It's not like this guy is some scrub. I know a lot of people think like, oh, it's Drew Aller. No. Drew Aller is that legit. There was buzz from him last year. He stayed. He's going to return for this last season. He will probably be a first-round pick. It is, to me, it's kind of similar to J.J. McCarthy when he was at Michigan. He has all the right tools. He's not the flashiness. He's not going to put up the biggest numbers, but he is a guy that knows how to win and a guy that gets the job done. And I think that right there for Penn State, if we are looking at a Penn State team that can somehow beat both Ohio State and Oregon, Drew Aller is the name to look out for in the Heisman race. He's a little bit more of an outside chance, and after the top three, I think these guys, like, I think the chances are dwindling pretty quickly. Like, I think Jeremiah Smith has got a really good chance. Nussmeier Arch got really good chances. Aller's kind of a little bit of an outside shot. And number 5, I think we get to even more of an outside shot because it is a running back. Out of Notre Dame, we have Jeremiah Love, who obviously was in the national championship game, was banged up there towards the end of the season, but he is on a collision path with the 2026 NFL Draft's first round. This guy is very similar to Ashton Jeanty in my opinion, not the play styles, but very similar in a sense where, like, the signs are there going into this season. He will be the first running back off the board, and this whole season you're going to be looking at Jeremiah Love and his performance being like, this guy could be a Heisman, this guy could be a Heisman. He's coming off of a 1,100-yard season with 17 touchdowns. He doesn't have much competition at Notre Dame this season. They do play Miami and Texas A&M. I think Syracuse is on their schedule as well. But all games you think they could handle. This could be an undefeated Notre Dame team. He could be the best player on that Notre Dame team as well. I think it is very similar to an Ashton Jeanty situation where Ashton Jeanty was like the life of the Boise State Broncos. This guy right here will be a lot for this team. You look at the quarterbacks, I think CJ Carr is potentially their QB1. I don't know who their QB1 is. I can just tell you it ain't Riley Leonard, but you don't really know what the QB game is going to look like, but you do know, hey, we got one of the best, if not the best running backs in the country in Jeremiah Love, and I think that alone at least has him in a spot that he should be mentioned in a preseason Heisman conversation. So Jeremiah Love at number 5. Number 6, we can't have a Heisman talk without an Oregon QB, can we? Can we? I look at Dante Moore, and yes, I know he's 2 years removed from a subpar season at UCLA, wasn't that great at the QB1 position at UCLA, but I look at Dan Lanning, and granted some of this was with Kenny Dillingham as well, but Dan Lanning and Will Stein, what they have done with Bo Nix and Dylan Gabriel, getting them into Heisman conversations, is nothing other than spectacular. Bo Nix came to Oregon, and it was like, it's kind of like a second chance at his career, right? He wasn't coming to Oregon and nobody was making a lot of headlines over it because he wasn't that great at Auburn. He had good moments at Auburn. Dillon Gabriel came to Oregon, wasn't something that got too much buzz either. Believe it or not, Dante Moore coming the same off season as Dillon Gabriel got more buzz than Dillon Gabriel. It was everybody knew Dillon Gabriel was the starting QB, but people were like, Dante Moore is that guy, because Dante Moore at one point was an Oregon commit. He was an Oregon commit, and they had a second chance at him. Believe it or not, though, this is kind of where we have a lot of questionable chance to win the Heisman. Dante Moore has not been named QB1. It is likely that he is QB1. From all I understand, he is going to be QB1. But Austin Novosad, he has been spectacular in the chances he has gotten in the spring games. From what I've heard, what goes down at practice, he looks good. Hey, I just don't think when you're going up against Dante Moore, who has had some failures at UCLA, but he had a season of QB1 work at UCLA. I think Dante Moore will be the guy there for Oregon, and I look at Oregon and kind of how they've revitalized the QB position the last couple of years. They're going to put them in scenarios to succeed. And you've had a lot of guys on this team already at Oregon that have been asked, who do you think the Heisman's going to be? Dante Moore. They're kind of showing signs, hey, Dante Moore might be that QB. Dan Lanning obviously hasn't said anything, but it really does seem like the players think Dante Moore is the QB of the future and the QB of the team. I think he has a decent chance, not necessarily a high chance to be in the a Heisman finalist, but if there's a guy that we're not getting much love to right now that could be it, Dante Moore should be at least named as one of those guys. So we have Dante Moore there. Next, we got number 7, Julian Sayin. I know I don't necessarily think he'll be a finalist, but you got to mention him. You got to mention Julian Sayin. He's the one throwing to Jeremiah Smith. He's the one that is going to be a starting quarterback for more likely than not a top 5 Ohio State team by the time the season's finished. Ohio State's going to be good. Their quarterback, Sayin, a lot of expectations. We'll see what he can do with them. But you got to expect him to at least be in the conversation. We don't really know what he's going to look like. But another high-rated recruit that came in, and we'll see what he can do. I don't necessarily know if he'll get as much buzz as his teammate Jeremiah Smith, but he is somebody that we at least have to mention in the top 10. Number 8, Sam Leavitt. I once again, if you heard me in the top 25 video, I challenge you to find somebody, anyone that is not an Arizona State fan, that is this high on Arizona State. I am a huge fan of Arizona State without being a fan of Arizona State, if that makes sense. I'm not donning any Arizona State gear, but I really do like this Arizona State team. He is another one. Kenny Dillingham, like we mentioned earlier with Bo Nix and his situation, Kenny Dillingham knows how to work with QBs. The Dan Lanning School of QBU has got a sister school over there in Arizona State. They both know how to produce talent at the QB position. Sam Leavitt bursted onto the scene last year, coming off with 2,885 yards, 24 touchdowns, and he limits the interceptions with only 6. I think you're going to need to see flashier numbers. They're a team that has some high hopes. They'll come into the season ranked. Obviously, we're in the playoffs last year as well. If they make the playoffs again, I think Sam Leavitt will be a huge part of it, and I think he will be the face of Arizona State football. So that is why Sam Leavitt is my number 8 here in the Heisman rankings pre-season. Number 9, we got John Mateer. John Mateer. He is a guy that I think a lot of people think could be a Heisman. He's going to Oklahoma. They're going to let him throw the ball. They're going to let him throw the ball. He threw for 3,100 yards, 29 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions at Washington State. Another school that will let you throw the ball, but Oklahoma is a team that's going to let you throw the ball. They got better talent around them. Here, though, I think it's going to depend on how successful Oklahoma is. They've kind of been on and off on how good they've been the last couple of years. There's years where they're really, really good. There's years like last year where they're not all that impressive. It's going to really depend on what kind of Oklahoma team we get if John Mateer is able to turn the talent into a Heisman. He is potentially the best transfer quarterback. A lot of people were excited to see him enter the portal. Guess what? Oklahoma was the ones to get his services, and Oklahoma is going to be the ones to see whether or not is it just buzz or what's John Mateer really got. And number 10, the guy that I think is the least likely out of this group, but a guy that I think has a sliver of a chance. I wanted to give him some love. I've already talked about Oregon. You should have known where I'm going next. Luke Altmaier. Luke Altmaier. What can't be said about Luke Altmaier? Luke Altmaier, coming off a year, 2,700 yards, 22 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. You're going to probably need to see more yards out of that in order to be a Heisman, but he limits the turnovers. Also, the schedule's not really that tough, if I'm being honest. I think Illinois has a really, really good slate of games for them. Ohio State is a little bit tricky. You do have Indiana on the schedule, but you play some tricky Big Ten teams, but all teams that I don't think you necessarily can't beat. Ohio State is the one that if you can get over the Ohio State hump, guess what? Luke Altmaier needs to be a Heisman. That's how good this Illinois team can be. You're looking at Luke Altmaier potentially leading this team to a playoff berth for the first time in who knows how long, since probably like 2006 Rose Bowl. It's been a long time. It's been a long time since Illinois had last year with the Citrus Bowl, but this year, if Luke Altmaier can get you to the playoffs, he needs to at least be mentioned in some Heisman talk. I don't care if he wins it. I don't care if he is a finalist. Somebody at some point's got to put his name into the hat. At least, hey, if Luke's got this team in the playoffs, this Illinois team, it's going to be good. But Luke Altmaier, I think, can do special things with it this year. So let me know down below who you think I missed in this Heisman rankings. I know I didn't mention guys like DJ Lagway, or I didn't really mention any freshmen. No Decorium Moore, even though I do hope he is really good for Oregon this year. We didn't mention any freshmen. But let me know. Yeah, let me know down below who you think could potentially be in the Heisman running. We will, I think we'll do probably about halfway through the season. Halfway through the season, we'll do like an updated like top 5. Like these are the guys to watch out for, and then we'll probably do one like conference championship week or something like that, where it's breaking down kind of the top 3 or something. I don't know. I haven't figured that out yet, but anyways, thank you for watching this Heisman video, and we will see you next time.